You've definitely seen them around more lately. Maybe you're even thinking about one. Electric vehicles.
Yep, they're becoming much more common.
So today, we want to do a bit of a deep dive. Get down to the fundamentals. We've looked at the questions you're asking from, what is an EV to can it actually handle a road trip?
Right. Our aim is just to give you the essentials. Clear, concise info so you feel you've got handle on the basics.
Okay, let's jump right in. The absolute basics first. What makes a car an electric car? What's the core difference?
Well, fundamentally, an EV uses an electric motor, and that motor gets its power from a big battery pack.
Right.
The key thing, the biggest difference from, the cars most of us grew up with, is no internal combustion engine. No petrol, no diesel needed to make it go.
Got it. So, potentially fewer trips to the petrol station then.
Or none at all.
Now, it feels like EVs are a very modern thing, but is that actually true? Have they been around longer?
Oh, absolutely. It's quite interesting, actually. EVs were some of the first types of automobiles. We're talking late 19th, early 20th century.
Really? Before gasoline cars took over?
Yeah, exactly. But then gasoline engines got better, petrol became cheap and widely available, and, well, EVs kind of faded into the background for, almost a century.
Wow, so it's a comeback story.
Definitely. Driven by new battery tech
Oh.
and environmental concerns this time around.
Okay, so for today's EVs, what are the key parts inside? The bits we should know about.
The big three are the battery, that's the energy storage, like the fuel tank. Then the electric motor, that's what actually turns the wheels.
Okay.
And third, the power electronics. Think of those as the brains, managing how the electricity flows from the battery to the motor and elsewhere. Kind of like traffic control for the power.
Traffic control for electricity. I like that. So how does that motor actually, push the car forward? No little explosions happening like in a regular engine.
Nope, none of that. It's all electromagnetism. Electricity flows from the battery into the motor, creating magnetic fields.
Uh-huh.
Those fields interact with other magnets, causing the motor shaft to spin. And that spinning force is what drives the wheels. Much simpler mechanically in some ways.
And smoother, people say. Quieter, too.
Generally, yes. Very smooth acceleration and much less noise without the engine rumble.
Okay, now the big question everyone asks. Are they actually better for the environment?
That's a common one.
Oh.
From the car itself, yes. EVs produce zero tailpipe emissions, no exhaust fumes coming out the back. That's a definite plus for local air quality.
That's a sense of but.
Well, the overall environmental impact really depends on how the electricity is generated. If your electricity comes from renewable sources like wind or solar, then yes, the benefit is huge. If it's coming mostly from, say, coal-fired power plants, the picture is a bit more complicated, still often better over the car's lifetime, but the source matters?
Right, makes sense. It's the bigger picture. Now, I've heard this term regenerative braking. Sounds fancy. What is it?
Ah, yeah, regen braking. It's pretty clever, actually. When you slow down or coast downhill in an EV, the electric motor can run in reverse, essentially.
Okay.
Instead of just using the friction brakes and wasting that energy as heat, the motor acts like a generator. It captures some of that forward momentum, that kinetic energy, turns it back into electricity, and sends it back to the battery.
So you get a little bit of charge back just by slowing down.
Exactly. It boosts your range and efficiency. It's one of the things that feels a bit different when you first drive an EV, that braking effect.
Speaking of driving, is it hard to get used to? Is there a steep learning curve?
Honestly, most people find it surprisingly easy. The instant torque means they feel quick off the line, very
Wow.
smooth.
Right.
The main things are maybe getting used to that regenerative braking feel and planning charging instead of just pulling into any petrol station. But the actual driving, pretty straightforward. People usually adapt very quickly.
Good to know. Now, practicality. What's the sort of entry-level price point? If someone's thinking about it, what's the ballpark?
Prices are definitely coming down, but they vary, by country and model. Generally, you might find basic entry-level EVs starting somewhere in the mid-20s to low 30s, in thousands of US dollars or equivalent. More affordable options are appearing all the time.
Okay, becoming more accessible. But what about the classic worry-long trips, road trips? Can you actually use an EV for that?
Absolutely. This is changing really fast. Battery ranges are getting much better. Many new EVs can do well over 200 or even 300 miles on a charge.
Okay, that's decent.
And the charging infrastructure, the network of public chargers, especially fast chargers, is growing rapidly along major routes.
So it's doable, just needs planning.
Precisely. You
Yeah.
can't just stop anywhere for 5 minutes like with gasoline. You need to plan your charging stops, maybe using an app.
Mm.
But yes, long-distance travel is definitely becoming more practical.
Okay, interesting. So wrapping up the why. Why are so many people making the switch now? What are the main drivers?
It's usually a mix of things. For many, environmental concerns are huge, wanting to reduce their carbon footprint. Then there's the potential for lower running costs. Electricity is often cheaper per mile than petrol, and EVs generally need less maintenance, fewer moving parts, no oil changes.
Right, the cost saving.
Plus, that quiet, smooth driving experience is genuinely appealing to a lot of people. Of course, government incentives in some places and just a wider choice of cool models are helping too.
So environment, costs, driving feel, and choice. Makes sense. We've covered a fair bit there, from the basics of what an EV is, how it works, the environmental side, right through to costs and long trips.
Yeah, hopefully that gives a good foundational understanding. It really is a major shift we're seeing in personal transport, connecting driving much more directly to the energy grid.
It really is. And it leaves you thinking, doesn't it? As the batteries keep getting better and cheaper, and you can charge them faster and faster, what does that mean for how we'll all get around in, say, 10 or 20 years? Will that quiet hum be the standard sound on our streets? Definitely something to ponder.